Hello everybody, I'm Madam Nasra from Educare Company. I'll be with you in history of Form 2. I'm in class of Form 2 secondary education, and today we will start with our first topic, which titled as Interaction Among the People of Africa. The title is Interaction Among the People of Africa. When we talk about interaction, first you have to ask by yourself, what is interaction? Means people from one society come into contact to another society, be it socially, economically, or political. So that is general or overview about the interaction. Now let's see the interaction. Interaction among the people of Africa can be defined as the way in which people from given community came into contact with another community. As I said, from one society into another society come into contact. As a human cannot fully live alone due to the progressing day-to-day needs, interaction is inevitable among the people, because through interaction we are able to access different requirements that you can't be or you can't settle at the single place. You can move. That is the nature of human being. You can move from one place to place. As nowadays people can move from the rural area to urban area, be it urban area to rural area. That is example of interaction. So even though the African societies at the earlier stage have been undergone the process of what? Of interaction. Now let's see. Let's see what made people of Africa to interact. Here, however, aspects of socio-economic development further strengthen the needs for interaction. People came into interaction or encountered themselves to interact with each other or with another society due to different factors. Now, those factors can be social, political, or economic. Now let's see the social factor which gave rise to the interaction among people of Africa, and other political, as I said before. Starting with this first point, war. Some interactions were brutal and hostile, as some strong communities attacked the weaker ones in order to control them. Some of societies succeeded in their struggle while others failed. For example, from 1820s, Egypt was in the constant attack to control the Northeast and East Africa. War acted as the major or one factor which made people to leave their houses and move to another place. For example, the nowadays example, or the common known example, was Ngoni migration, where Ngoni speaking community moved from Nata to the interior part of Africa. This was due to the Mfecane War. So this forced them to move, to leave their houses, because they were not able to fight with the Zulu expansion. This forced them to move. The next one is migration. As communities grew in number, this led to the scarcity of resources, which forced the other to migrate in search of resources that were and meeting other communities. meeting other community, other people with whom they created new social relations. The next is migration. People started to migrate from their homeland to another land, or another, from their society, their origin society, to another origin society. The common known example here is Bantu migration and Ngun migration. The next one is intermarriage. This occurs when two people of different groups married and can be seen in the broader context of mixing of different groups in marriage, that is sexual relation. Therefore, this made African people to interact and begin new communities. This is occurred when people of certain society marry with maybe the person from one society come and marry the person from the another society. Automatically, one of them should migrate from the home origin to his maybe husband or her wife. Even nowadays, in nowadays life, this is applicable. You can see the maybe a male is from Dar es Salaam and a female from maybe Dodoma. So one of them should move from to another, so as to begin the family, or to begin the community. That's why people of Africa encountered themselves into the interacted. If one move from his society or her society to another, we can counter him or her that have been interacted with us. The next one is religion. Africans had their traditional African religions which acted as a symbol of unity and togetherness. Their religions brought them together. That is religion, as you can know that people with the same religion encounter themselves as they are once. So through this made them to be together, even though they didn't live in the single place. One can move from this place to certain place due to the religious factor. The next one is music and games. African societies had a rich history of music and games, as people from different communities interacted on different occasions, sharing their experiences. This was mainly for the entertainment and recreation purposes. As nowadays you can see, musicians can move from one place to another for their work. Even you can move from your home and follow where certain musician is performing. That is interaction. It is for the entertainment and the recreational purposes. Now let's see that those before was the social factor that gave the rise for interaction among people of Africa. Now let's see the economic factor that gave the rise to the interaction among people of Africa. The first one is trade. Different societies had to move in search of communities, which led interaction. For example, people of Zambia, Mozambique, and Rwanda had trade link with people of East Africa, and in North Africa, people interacted with West African through trans-Saharan trade. As you can know, buying goods and selling goods. Before the coming of colonialism, the Africans were their own trade. The common known trade was trans-Saharan trade and transatlantic trade. So this made them to interact. The businessmen, maybe from Zambia, Mozambique, and Rwanda, they had trade links with people of East Africa. Also, the people of North Africa interacted with East Africa through the trans-Saharan trade. So, trade marked as the one of the factor which made African people to interact with one another. The next one is search for new land. Areas that were not conducive for human settlement and reproduction activities were left behind, and those that with conducive conditions like fertile soil, and good climate did attract many people. For example, agricultural communities did shift from areas that were infertile to those areas with reliable rainfall and fertile soil, searching for new land. As we know that most of African or some of African societies were farmers, involved themselves in cultivation of crops. So, if the area was not or were not suitable or did not support the farming activities, the area forced the people to move and finding the area which will support the cultivation, like area with fertile soil and the good climatic condition with reliable rainfall in order to succeed the agricultural activities. After seeing factors that made people of Africa to undergo interaction, now let's see what are the impact of economic interaction. By introduction, we can say that economic impact of interaction can be grouped into two, as positive and negative. As we can know that everything happen has negative impact and the positive impact. So also the interaction of people in Africa had two sides of impact, had positive impact and negative impact. Let's start with the positive economic impacts. First is development of technical skills and new ideas. Interaction led people of Africa from different communities to share their skills and ideas for economic growth. As we can know, if people move from one place to another, some of them had their own skills, so they used it to share their skills with different people. So this made another people with no skills and idea to gain new idea and skills. Hence, came up with the developments. The next one is growth of new towns and cities. Interaction among African people led to the development of new towns, as most of the populated area grew economically due to the population increase and production activities such as trade and agricultural activities. The good example here, we use places like Timbuktu, Gaza. This place developed during the trans-Saharan trade. The next one is the foundation for future economic development. The foundation was made through improvement of infrastructures and social services, which aimed to meet the socio-economic demands of the population growing. The next one is intensification of agricultural production to meet the demand of the market. Following the market demand for agriculture, production as they were highly demanded, the intensification of agriculture production was inevitable. As I said before, that people moved into some area since that area has enough rainfall, good climatic condition, and fertile land. Automatically, when people succeed to cultivate on that place, the agriculture will grow up. So this made the production to be intensified in order to meet the market. Also, markets were needed since there were a lot of people due to the increase of population. Now, let's jump to the negative economic impact of interaction of people among Africa. The first one is overexploitation of Africans' resources. Interaction among African people resulted in overexploitation of African resources through trade, which was unequal in nature. As we can know, during that trade, the type of trade used was the barter trade, exchanging goods by goods. Here you can see people were exchanging be it gold with maybe beads, or with gold with the animal skin. You can see there is no equality between them, but there is no need because it is a trade. People were needed to do that business. So this came up with overexploitation of Africans. Also, during this period, Africans encountered themselves in trade with Arabs, who came maybe with just beads, sometimes with just jewels. Yeah. So people of Africa exchanged maybe gold, copper, or a lot of minerals with bead, just a single bead. So you can see that business or that trade was unequal, so led to overexploitation African society. The next one is emergence of classes among the Africans. Classes emerged dividing poor Africans from rich Africans who accumulated wealth from different economic, social, and political activities. So after the trade or after the interaction, some of Africans emerged to be wealth or rich, emerged to be rich compared to others. So this between the richness and the poor people led Africans to have class between poor and the rich. The next one is exposure of Africa to the outside world. African countries and its resources came to be exposed to the outside the world due to the interaction. As we can know that during the interaction, Africans interacted with Arabs, with Europeans. So those tradesmen exposed the Africa outside the world. They made the Arabs to know that, oh, there is Africa. Oh, there is Africa from Europe, maybe Europe or Asia. So this made Africa to be exposure outside. Decrease of productive manpower due to the slave trade. This is another point, the decrease of manpower. During this trade, not only barter trade, also this trade included the slave trade. So most of many powerful Africans were taken to the outside as slaves. So this made Africans to lose their money power. Now let's see the social impact of interaction. Social is population increase. The area that attracted a large number of people became highly populated, especially productive areas. The area which attracted large number, be it trade center, be it area which was suitable for agricultural activities, this emerged with large number of people encountered the high population. The increased population resulted into socio-economic development in a given areas which facilitated immigration. So if there is a high population, the social and economic development will be easier to the availability of manpower, something like that. So let's jump to the next point. Emergence of new languages. As different people interacted, new language emerged. Different people interacted, new language emerged. As we can see, when one person from certain society have his or her own ethnic language, and another from another society has his or her own language, when they come into contact, they will affect each other. Therefore, one will adopt another person's language, or they will form their own way, their only one language which will facilitate communication. So through this interaction, also Africans experience the emergence of new language. The common example, the very known example, is Swahili language, which emerged after the interaction between Africans of coastal areas, also Arabs and Europeans. As you can see from Swahili language, you can encounter a lot of words from Africans origin, another words from the Arabs language, and the other words from the Europeans language, English language. That's why you can say that led to the emergence of new language. Before the interaction, there were no Swahili language. Now, after seeing what is interaction, the next subtopic in our topic is the coming of Ngoni, or this is normally known as the Ngoni migration. So, my dear students, I want you to be very well and very careful to listen. What do we mean when we say the coming of Ngoni? The coming of Ngoni we trace as one of the case study during the interaction. So now let's see, who were the Ngoni? When you hear about Ngoni, what was their origin? Let's see, Ngoni were Bantu Ngoni speaking people of northern Zululand in Southeast Africa. They were originally Ndwande people under Zwede's leadership. We can see that they were Bantu. First, they were Bantu Nguni speaking people, or Nguni speaking community from northern Zululand in Southeast Africa. They were originally Ndwandwe people under Zwede's leadership. So before, they were known as Ndwande under the leadership of Zwide. But when Shaka defeated Zulu, one part of his group in 1840s moved to East Africa into two groups of Maseko and the Tuta under Zwangendaba. Zulu started their expansion. Historically we know that as Zulu expansion. So it was the war between Shaka of Zulu. Shaka was the leader of Zululand, while Zwide was the leader of Ndwandwe. So Shaka defeated Zulu during the Zulu expansion. Therefore, they decided to move to the East Africa. One part of his group in 1840s moved to East Africa into two groups of Maseko and Tuta under Zwangendaba. They moved to Tanzania from Nata and Swaziland between the 1840s due to the Mfikano, the time of trouble. The Zulu expansion, when Shaka was fighting with the Zwide, that war was known as Mfikane War. They are currently settled in southwest Tanzania around Songea town. So we have seen who were gone. They were people from South Africa, then moved to the interior part of Africa, especially East Africa. Some of them settled in Tanzania to the common known place Songea town. And when you move to Tanzania, you can see Ngoni speaking community in Songea. Now you can see the image, the illustrable picture illustration to show the Ngoni speaking community. Now let's see what made Ngoni to migrate. What made them to leave their homeland to come to interior part of Africa? What forced them to leave their home? So there are causes of Ngoni migration. Why Ngoni moved? Reasons for the Ngoni migration. The first reason is Ngoni migrated due to the tyrannical and dictatorial rule of Shaka. The Zulu ruler was cruel in nature as he severely tortured people, and those who failed to respond to his order were killed. As we can know that during the Mfikane War, Zulu defeated Zwide. So Zulu came into power with like dictatorial way of ruling. So this made some people who were not happy with the situation, since he was very cruel. He severely tortured people. He tortured his people, and those who failed to respond to his order experienced to be killed. So due to this, some people decided to seek refuge by migrating to other areas. Since there were torture, dictatorship, leadership, this made some of them who were not able to respond and who were not aware with the situation to move, experiencing them to be refugees and searching for other areas. So they ended up to migrate to the interior parts of Africa. The next one is external pressure from British and Boers. They moved because the external pressure from British and Boers in the South Africa, who were moving northwards, occupying their land. The South Africa experienced the Boer trek. People from Netherlands occupied to the Cape. So some of Africans, especially Ngoni, were not aware with the situation. That's why they decided to move. They occupied their land. That's why they decided to move and leave their home and came to the interior part of Africa. The next one is, it was due to overpopulation. This was caused by the fertility of soil and the variability of rainfall between Drakensberg Mountain and the Indian Ocean due to the overpopulation. The next one is pastoralism reasons. Some of Nguni people owned large herds of cattle and northward looking for pasture and water for the animals. So they wanted to look for more fertile land. The next reason is pastoralism reasons. Some Nguni people owned a large herd of cattle and northward looking for the pasture and water for their animals. So they wanted to look for the more fertile land for their cattle. They also experienced the famine, drought that led to lack of food and water. So, in pastoralism, cattle wanted enough water and food. So, if there are drought and famine, means their cattle will die automatically. So, this made Nguni to shift, to transform from their land from their homeland to the interior part of Africa, looking for the water and food for their cattle. The next is the influence of their leaders. Men like Zwangendaba, Maputo, and Zulugema provided good leadership. This encouraged them to move onwards. As we can see, during the one of group which moved to the interior part of Africa was under the leadership. The good example of leadership was Zwangendaba. Zwangendaba was a good leader in case of, was very faithful. That's why his people trusted him and influenced them to trust him, and then they decided to move and live out the cruel and bad leadership of Shaka. The next one is overstocking. It could also have been due to the overstocking of their animals, as they were having spirit of cattle rustling. That is, they had great desire to steal other people's cattle. They had good desire of stealing other people's cattle. For example, they went on driving away and confiscating other people's cattle during their conquest and expansionist war. Overstocking. This was having a large number of animals or cattle. So they had great desire to steal other people's cattle. For example, they wanted to, on driving away, they confiscating other people's cattle during the conquest and expansion. This made some of them to move northwards to the interior part of Africa. The next, or the last but not the least, is the increased knowledge of military tactics by the age of regiments. These were powerful military forces and dedicated to professional war, which was their livelihood. They believed that they could have other territories through migration. Since their territory was conquered by Shaka, the Zulu, they believed that they have to find another territory which they will establish their their life system, their own territories. So this made them to migrate, to move from that area to the interior part of Africa, like Zimbabwe, Zambia, and Tanzania, especially the Songea region. That is the short story about the Nguni migration, or Ngoni migration, or Ngoni speaking community. Now, before I leave you, my dear students, I want you to give what are the effects of interaction in Africa. I think you can give me a good answer, not only good answer, accurately, which can help you to pass your coming exams. So up to here, or up to there, this marks the end of our session. Let's meet you again next session.